Exposed. The hidden impact of canceling my children's cards on my life-changing birthday. Jake sat at the kitchen table, bills sprawled out like ominous shadows. His fingers trembled as he eyed the overdue credit card payments. Every month was a battlefield, and when it came to his children, a decision needed to be made. Cancel their debit cards? Seemed like the responsible thing to do. After all, what father wouldn't prioritize his kid's future over a momentary birthday celebration? Yet, with each tick of the clock, dread settled deeper in his stomach like lead. The thought of disappointing Emma and Lucas clawed at his heart, but he clung to the hope of building a better life. "Hey kids, can I talk to you for a second?" he called, his voice shaky but resolute. When he broke the news, they shot him a look that felt like ice through his veins. Their smiles fell faster than a tree in autumn. Confusion morphed into something else. Disappointment clouded their young faces, and it hit him hard. He had thought he was doing the right thing, but all he could see were their widened eyes, utter silence lingering like an unwelcome guest. The day felt heavy, laden with the unspoken resentment that festered between celebration and sorrow. "Just a birthday," Jake whispered to himself, his chest tightening as he set the table for dinner. Something crucial had shifted. They were always a trio, tackling the world together, and now it seemed they were caught in different storms. He remembered the joy they usually shared, laughing over pizza, cake, and silly backyard games. But the air was thick with misunderstandings, turning every moment sour. Silence blanketed the living room as Jake's mother arrived, her face reflecting years of wisdom etched by life's trials. She watched the three of them with a knowing gaze before stepping in. "Jake," she started, her tone soothing, "it's okay to let them see you struggle a bit. True strength is in sharing the struggle, not hiding it." Her words cut through the tension, igniting something within him. He realized he hadn't just canceled their cards. He dimmed the light in their family. Seeking to bridge the widening gap, Jake gathered Emma and Lucas by the kitchen counter. "Let us do something different," he proposed, a hint of hope flickering in his eyes. "How about we bake for the community sale tomorrow instead?" The prospect of flour flying and frosting wars sparked the faintest smile on their faces. As they whipped up batter and let the sweet aromas fill the air, a small crack formed in the wall of tension, a promise of togetherness. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let us continue the next day. As they arrived at the bake sale, Jake's heart raced. He eyed the judging eyes of neighbors and felt the weight of his worries pressing down. Could this really mend the rifts? Could they find joy in a world filled with financial strain? As they set up their booth, the vibrant chatter around them felt both confining and freeing. A mix of anticipation and fear rushed over him. Could this act of community service help him reconnect with Emma and Lucas? Or would it only widen the chasm of misunderstanding? Behind the hum of the crowd, a flicker of hope ignited deep within Jake, intensifying the uncertainty of their shared future. The sun had barely risen, yet the community square buzzed with life. Colorful banners whipped in the gentle breeze, and the scent of baked goods wafted through the air, wrapping around Jake and his kids like a warm hug. Emma and Lucas, once so distant, now wore matching aprons and giggled, invigorated by the sugar rush of anticipation. Jake couldn't help but smile at the sight of them, flour dusting their cheeks as they prepared their treats. Setting up their booth felt monumental, like laying the first bricks in a new foundation. He watched as they arranged cupcakes with dazzling sprinkles, the icing so bright it practically glowed. "This is actually fun," Emma exclaimed, a genuine smile breaking through the remnants of yesterday's disappointment. Lucas chimed in, frosting a generous swirl on a cupcake that teetered a bit too high. Jake felt a lift in his chest, a burst of warmth that momentarily chased away the financial worries nagging at the back of his mind. But just as joy began to seep back into their lives, doubt clawed at him again. Would this small act, this bake sale, be enough to mend the heartbreak he felt he'd caused? He glanced toward the bustling crowd, families laughing and playing games, everyone seemingly untouched by the burden he carried. The brightness of their smiles was a stark contrast to the shadows lingering behind his own. "Let us give it our best shot," Jake said more to himself than the kids. He took a deep breath, trying to steady the fluttering in his stomach, reminding himself that they were together and together was everything. As the first customers approached, Emma and Lucas presented their creations with pride. Their hesitant smiles bloomed into bursts of laughter with every sale. "Look, Dad. They like it," Lucas shouted, pointing at an elderly woman biting into a blueberry scone. She closed her eyes in delight, savoring the flavor. The kids lit up, drawing strength from her joy and their own. Jake learned something: then their bond could withstand the tough times if nurtured with love, laughter, and small moments like these. As the hours passed, the booth transformed from a collection of baked goods to a haven filled with stories shared over treats. Jake began swapping tales with other vendors about parenting struggles and community hopes. The chit-chat flowed easily, dissolving the solitude he felt only days before. Standing shoulder to shoulder with his children, he felt part of something larger, a tapestry woven with shared experiences. But amid all this, an unexpected figure emerged from the crowd: his old friend Mark, who had known Jake before life's pressures had hardened him. Mark's brisk strides carried him toward the booth, and apprehension flooded Jake's veins. They hadn't spoken in years. "Hey man," Mark greeted, his smile brightening the overcast afternoon. "I heard you were baking today. Looks great." There was warmth in his voice but an edge of concern behind his eyes. It was as if he could sense the undercurrents of Jake's struggles. "Thanks," Jake managed, swallowed by a mixture of nostalgia and embarrassment. What would Mark say if he knew? Would he pity him or offer help? As Jake grappled with his thoughts, Mark leaned in closer, lowering his voice. "Is everything okay? You know I'm here if you need to talk." The sincerity in Mark's inquiry was like a lifeline thrown into choppy waters. Jake's heart raced. Did he dare open up and admit how close things had come to falling apart? How he felt like he was just a few bad decisions away from losing everything he cherished. But as he looked at Emma and Lucas, laughing together, bustling about their booth like children filled with unshakable optimism, he hesitated. A moment of truth loomed ahead. Would he take the leap and share his reality with someone who remembered the man he once was? Could this encounter lead to the help he so desperately needed or expose his weaknesses even further? Jake held his breath, caught between the fear of vulnerability and the possibility of reclaiming his life. A step toward honesty felt monumental as he prepared to respond. What would he say? And would it change everything? The color of the day began to shift as clouds thickened overhead, casting long shadows across the square. Jake stared into Mark's concerned face, and a whirlwind of emotions battled inside him. To speak or not to speak? The thought gnawed at him. He took a deep breath that almost felt like he was pulling in the strength he needed. "It's complicated," he finally managed, his voice barely loud enough to join the chatter fading into the background. Mark's eyes softened, and Jake could see the desire to help reflected in them. It gave Jake some courage, enough to take one step closer to honesty. As he scratched the back of his head, uncertainty bubbled up. "Things have been rough lately. Money's tight and well, I almost let it get in the way." Of his voice trailed off as he glanced at Emma and Lucas, who were busy wrapping cupcakes in colorful paper. They were beacons of hope, yet the pressure weighed heavily on him. "Hey listen. It's okay to struggle," Mark assured him, leaning on the edge of the booth, his presence steady, grounding. "That doesn't make you a bad dad. It makes you human." Jake felt the burn of embarrassment creeping up his cheeks. Was it possible to be completely open about his failures? He shook his head slightly, feeling his fingers tremble as he wiped his brow. "It's not just the money. It's how I've been hard on the kids. I mean, I thought I was doing what was best, but I think I've been stirring up fears in them. They deserve more than what I've given." Mark nodded, understanding simmering in his gaze. "We all mess up. But look at them," he replied, gesturing toward Emma and Lucas. "They're here laughing, smiling. You're showing them love by being present, even when things are tough." There was an undeniable truth to Mark's words, and Jake's heart began to swell, overwhelmed by hope with just a flicker of guilt. "Yeah. Maybe," Jake whispered, lowering his eyes. He felt raw, exposed, the shadows of self-doubt clawing back, but the sunlight breaking through the clouds felt familiar somehow. Gathering courage, he ventured hesitantly, "I just wish I could make it all go away. I don't want them to see me struggling. Oh, Jake, Mark said softly. Kids are sharper than we give them credit for. They see things we think we're hiding. Show them that it's okay to struggle too. Let them know it gets better. Jake felt a tremor of relief ripple through him like a refreshing breeze after a hot day. Could he really lean into this conversation? Could he tear down the walls he deconstructed around himself? Just as Jake prepared to dive deeper, Lucas suddenly appeared, brandishing a half-eaten cupcake with proud eyes. Dad! This lady said it was the best cupcake she has ever had. His joy was contagious, and Jake couldn't help but smile, momentarily forgetting the weight of his worries. That's amazing, buddy, Jake exclaimed, wrapping an arm around Lucas, feeling the warmth of his son's enthusiasm envelop him. Mark's laughter echoed, and a glimmer of hope shimmered through the air. This was a small success, but it was a success nonetheless. As the event continued, Jake found himself laughing alongside his kids, the burden he carried slipping just a little. But with every moment the lingering truth remained. He was still in the midst of a storm. Would hope be enough to carry him through? And as the clouds rolled by, he wondered, what if talking to Mark opened more doors? What if this was just the beginning of healing? Would he be brave enough to try for more, to seek help outside his comfort zone? Jake caught a glimpse of Mark, who was still smiling, sharing simple moments with the kids. The question lingered in the air. How far could he allow himself to fall and still rise again? The gathering began to blur around Jake as he tried to drown out the noise of the bustling festival. Laughter and chatter filled the square, but his mind remained cloudy, consumed by his own thoughts. Emma and Lucas buzzed around him, wrapping up the evening with careful precision. Their laughter, a sound so pure, reminded him of the happiness he wished he could effortlessly provide. As the last rays of sunlight slipped behind the horizon, Jake felt a flicker of something just beyond the grip of self-doubt. Hope. It danced gently in his chest, urging him to embrace the moment, yet the shadows of his worries loomed larger. The idea of confronting his struggles head-on seemed daunting, like standing at the edge of a daunting cliff, unsure of what lay below. Hey, Dad! Lucas's voice shattered his thoughts. Can we have ice cream now? His innocent eyes sparkled with excitement, and the weight in Jake's chest lessened for a brief moment. Of course, buddy, Jake replied, his voice buoyant as he tousled Lucas's hair. The boy squealed in delight, running off towards the ice cream stand while Emma lingered beside Jake, eyeing him sharply. What's up, Dad? She asked, leaning closer, her expression shifting from joy to concern. Jake hesitated. Nothing, Em. Just thinking. She peered at him, her young face filled with intuition that belied her age. You can tell me. I promise I won't freak out. Her honesty pierced his heart. It's just I've been feeling like I'm not doing enough, he admitted. I want to give you both the best life, and sometimes it feels like I'm failing. Emma's brow furrowed for a moment before she broke into a soft smile. You're not failing, Dad. You're here with us. That's what matters. Jake choked on his own breath, momentarily overwhelmed. Watching his daughter, he felt the air thick with vulnerability. How could she be so wise at her age? Mark walked by, catching the tail end of their conversation, and gave Jake an encouraging nod. It gave Jake a flicker of strength to build on. Perhaps it was time to lean into the hard discussions he had been avoiding. As they moved toward the ice cream stand, memories of their previous gatherings flashed in Jake's mind. Times when laughter silenced his worries even for a heartbeat. He held on to those moments, desperate to carve them into his children's memories. Can I have chocolate chip cookie dough? Lucas shouted from the front of the line, hopping in place as Jake caught up. Sure thing. Jake could hardly suppress the joy flooding his chest seeing Lucas's enthusiasm. As he prepared to order, he thought about the looming financial struggles and the children's innocent perspective. They didn't care about the finer things. They just wanted his presence. Can we get one scoop each, Dad? We can share. Lucas suggested with gleeful reasoning. Jake chuckled, reminding himself of how hard he had been on himself. It was a simple day. Yet the idea of sticking to their modest plan filled him with pride. Whatever makes you happy, kiddo. Just as they settled on their order, the sky cracked open, rain starting to fall softly. People around them shuffled, seeking shelter under nearby awnings. Jake instinctively pulled Emma and Lucas closer, the warmth of their bodies against him providing an instant comfort. But in the midst of laughter and rain, something inside Jake began to shift. Maybe surviving this storm would lead to uncovering deeper truths. As he watched his kids dance in the rain, he wondered, could this good moment become a springboard for change? Would he finally allow himself to reach out for more help and embrace the vulnerability that came with it? With clouds overhead and hope sown in his heart, Jake felt ready to take the next step. But deep down, the nagging question lingered. What would tomorrow hold, and could he really change the course of their lives? The rain continued to fall, each droplet mingling with the laughter of his children. Lucas and Emma twirled in circles, their joy infectious. Watching them, Jake felt a pang of something unfamiliar. Was it relief? It was a stark contrast to the oppressive weight that usually gnawed at him, its absence startling yet welcomed. As the rain picked up, Jake pulled out his phone, checking the time. He watched Lucas skip alongside Emma, their carefree existence a stark reminder that he was indeed doing something right. They were happy. That thought made the corners of his mouth twitch upwards. Maybe, just maybe, there was a path through this storm. Alright, how about we head for cover? He called out, wading through the crowd. Just as he turned his back to the towering ice cream stand, a flicker of movement at the corner of his eye sent a jolt through him. A group of parents huddled under the awning, chatting. It was Mark again, along with a few others from the neighborhood, their faces lit with good-natured smiles. Hey Jake. Mark waved him over. You guys look like you're having fun despite the rain. Jake hesitated, his impulse to retreat creeping up, but looking once more at Lucas and Emma, he steeled himself. We're making it work. He called back, a smile stretching across his face. He moved closer, and soon the familiar warmth of community surrounded him. Got room for a couple more? Mark's voice was light, inviting. For a moment, the laughter of the adults mixed harmoniously with the merry shouts of the children. Of course, Emma answered, her youthful confidence and carefree spirit radiating toward him. Jake felt a gentle tugging at his heart, the innocence of youth, the importance of connectivity in these small pockets. As he joined the circle, their conversation swirled like the rain around them. Playful banter of kids being kids, family trips and weekend barbecues. But beneath the laughter, Jake felt a slight tremor of something heavier. The whispers of his financial worries hovered just outside the idyllic bubble of community, casting shadows on his laughter. He allowed himself to focus on the immediate joy in front of him. You all right, Jake? Mark's voice pulled him back in. You seem a little distracted. Jake inhaled deeply, the sound of the rain overwhelming for a second. I'm all right, just a lot on my mind. With that, he saw the concern etched in Mark's expression, a familiar thread woven through the fabric of their friendship. Could he really share the burdens weighing him down? Vulnerability was scary. Yet Mark's patience encouraged something inside him to stir. Listen, if you ever need to talk, you know I'm here, right? Mark added, his voice steady and sincere. The moment penetrated Jake's armor, and for a fleeting second, he considered letting go, perhaps even allowing the bits of stress to slip away. But was he ready to expose his inner turmoil? With laughter echoing around him, Jake brushed off the heaviness for now. He needed to savor this unlikely joy. This moment carved out amid life's chaos. As his thoughts swirled with unspoken fears and dreams, he locked eyes with Lucas, his boy still dancing in the rain. Jake realized then that admitting vulnerability wouldn't mean he was weak. It would mean he was strong enough to seek help, to be open. Tomorrow loomed like an unopened gift, filled with potential. What changes might it spark? Would he be brave enough to let this moment inspire him toward something new? With renewed curiosity brewing within, Jake prepared himself to embrace the day ahead, realizing that every step he took could lead to the transformation he needed for himself and his family. And yet there remained one pressing question. Could he really let the world in without fear of falling? As the rain softened into a gentle drizzle, Jake felt a shift within him. The laughter of Lucas and Emma weaved through the air like music, lifting him from the weight of his thoughts. He ruffled their hair as they approached, cheeks flushed from excitement. All right guys, let us make a run for it, he said, his voice mingling with their laughter. They sprinted toward a nearby pavilion, giggles trailing behind them. Once under the shelter, Jake took a moment to catch his breath while observing the joy etched on his children's faces. For a heartbeat, he forgot about the stack of bills waiting for him at home, or the uncertainty clawing at the edges of his mind. In this moment, caught between rain and laughter, everything felt right, if only for a moment. "Dad, look!" Lucas shouted, pointing at a group of kids splashing in puddles. "Can we join them?" Jake smiled, but a moment of doubt crept in. What if he hesitated, contemplating the muddy clothes, the cold water seeping into warm socks? But instead of giving in to worry, he drew in a deep breath. "You know what? Why not? Just don't go too wild." Lucas and Emma squealed, racing off again, splashing through the puddles with wild abandon. This energy was infectious, and Jake joined them, laughing as he briefly became part of their world. Each splash seemed to wash away another layer of his apprehension, and it reminded him of simpler times. Suddenly, he heard Mark's voice call out again, "You're a good dad, you know. Not many would jump in puddles like that." Jake turned to see his friend standing there, admiration shining in his eyes. The compliment warmed him, breaking away the ice he didn't even realize had formed around his heart. "Thanks, Mark," Jake replied, a genuine smile breaking through. "You make it easy to choose this over worrying." Mark chuckled, his own kids joining Lucas and Emma in their splashing, and for a moment, Jake felt the warmth of acceptance wrap around him like a blanket. But still the shadows loomed. The pressures nagged quietly at his mind, reminding him that this joy couldn't last indefinitely as they continued to play. Jake's mind drifted back to the conversation he had with Mark earlier. Was he really ready to open up? Could he allow himself to be vulnerable without collapsing under the weight of it? That one thought dangled in front of him like a carrot, urging him forward. Later, as the rain diminished to a light sprinkle, the kids begged for ice cream. Jake nodded, his heart a little lighter. They trudged over to the ice cream stand, their enthusiasm unyielding despite their soggy clothes. He ordered a waffle cone for each, pushing aside the inner thoughts that warned him about spending. With ice cream in hand, Lucas and Emma returned to their puddles. Jake watched them, their laughter echoing off the stained concrete. But as he took a bite, a familiar voice in his head thundered a reminder of every dollar he had yet to account for, every payment that loomed like dark clouds. "Hey Jake, you okay?" Mark broke through his thoughts, leaning against the stand, concern creeping back into his voice. Jake's heart beat a little faster. Should he say something? Share the fear of not being able to afford treats for his kids? He shrugged slowly. "I'm figuring things out," he managed, forcing a smile that felt a little unreal. Just then Lucas ran up, ice cream smeared across his face, eyes sparkling with joy. "This is the best day, Dad. Can it last forever?" Jake's heart melted. The question hung in the air, and for the first time he pondered how he could create that kind of lasting happiness. Before he could respond, the world around him felt overwhelming again, the burdens he carried rising back to the surface. In that moment, Jake realized he stood at a crossroads. He could continue hiding, allowing fears to dictate his path, or he could step into the light, vulnerable and open. As the rain began to fall again, he took a deep breath. Just then, Emma tugged on his sleeve, her face alight with excitement. "Dad, let us make a wish. Right now, like superheroes." Jake chuckled, the sparkle of hope igniting once more within him as he looked into their eager eyes. Amidst the uncertainties, he caught a flicker of determination. Maybe the universe was sending a message. Before he could think too much about it, he gathered them close. "All right then. Let us make that wish." As they closed their eyes, he couldn't help but wonder what they would wish for. Was it time to ask for something big? Something transformative? For a moment, everything felt possible. He could see the world opening around him, full of new pathways to explore. And as he held their hands tightly, he made a silent wish of his own, hoping to find the strength to step into the unknown. But as they opened their eyes and turned to the world ahead, Jake found himself facing a choice that could change everything he knew about courage, about resilience, about family. Would he dare to embrace the very thing that scared him most? The moment their eyes fluttered open, a gust of wind swept through the park, fluttering leaves and sending a chill over Jake's skin. For an instant he felt exposed, raw. But as Lucas and Emma beamed up at him, their smiles bright and full of promise, he knew hiding wasn't an option anymore. "All right, superheroes," he declared, ruffling their hair once more. "What kind of wishes did we make?" Emma's eyes sparkled as she jumped up and down. "I wished for a pet unicorn," she exclaimed, her voice laced with innocence. Jake chuckled, imagining how that might play out. But before he could tease Emma, Lucas leaned forward, his face serious. I wished for our family to always stay together, he murmured, as if letting go of a treasured secret. Jake's heart clenched. That simple wish held so much weight, a realization that struck like lightning. The challenges of life felt immense. The thought of separation of change brought a sudden rush of anxiety. But Lucas's sincerity illustrated a truth tightly woven into the fabric of their lives. Family always mattered more than money or worry. Great wishes, you too, Jake said, gathering them into his arms. I'll work hard to keep those wishes alive. As they pulled away, Jake caught Mark South's gaze across the park. His friend looked thoughtful, a subtle frown creasing his forehead. It reminded Jake of the conversation they had earlier, the one that kept resurfacing in the corners of his mind. Hey Mark, Jake called out, feeling the pull to open up just a bit. You said I was a good dad earlier. What about you? How do you manage it all? Mark approached, his eyes sharpening. Trust me, Jake. It's not as easy as it looks. Yeah, but you seem to have it figured out, Jake replied, searching for answers. How do you stay so calm? I can barely keep it together half the time. Mark chuckled softly, leaning against the ice cream stand. It's not calmness. It's survival instincts. You just keep pushing through the chaos. Reflecting on that, Jake wandered back to his thoughts of vulnerability. What if he just started being honest? What if he let the fears and doubts spill out the same way they seem to flow so easily from his children? Do you ever get scared? Jake asked, feeling the weight of his own uncertainty. Mark's eyes flicked to him, surprise evident in his expression. Sure, man, he replied, his voice steady. You never stop worrying when you're a parent. It's part of the job. And it should be. That means you care. Jake took a deep breath. But what if it becomes too much? Mark's gaze softened. Then you lean on your friends. You talk about it. Don't bottle everything inside. Just then, Lucas and Emma bolted back toward the pavilion, their laughter ringing like tiny bells. They had found other kids, and they were already enacting superhero battles, arms flailing, and imagination soaring. Jake watched their joy and felt the weight of his unresolved burdens mixing with hope. What would it feel like to let some of that weight go? Anyway, Mark said, breaking the thread of his thoughts, want to join us on a family picnic next week? We could all use one while this weather holds up. Jake nodded, already feeling the invitation brighten the bleak edges of his mind. Absolutely, he said, the excitement sparking up in his chest as they started to walk back to their car. Jake couldn't shake the feeling of a shift. Suddenly the commitments felt a little lighter, the future a bit brighter. It was a small step, but one made in the right direction. But as he followed his children into the car, a nagging thought lingered. His heart still raced with worry about their finances, their future. What if one decision changed everything? What if that open conversation was the key to something deeper? As he settled into the driver's seat, the driver's door creaking softly, Jake realized he stood on the edge of something new. What could he possibly unearth by finally confronting the fear of vulnerability? Was he ready to explore that unknown? The car hummed to life, but Jake sat for a moment, staring at the steering wheel. He could feel the weight of his worries pressing down on him, squeezing his chest like a vice. Could this really be the turning point? He glanced at Lucas and Emma. Their faces lit up with joy as they recounted their superhero saga, completely oblivious to the uncertainties swirling in their father's mind. Dad, are you coming? Emma chirped, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. Jake forced a smile and nodded, shaking himself free from the grip of anxiety. Yeah, I'm coming. He pulled out of the parking space, the familiar route home waiting for him like a long-lost friend. As the trees blurred past, his thoughts drifted to Mark's words. Lean on your friends. It seemed like such a small request. But the idea of truly opening up, of letting another person into the chaos of his life, felt terrifying. What would he even say? The flood of insecurities lined up in his mind, waiting for their moment to jump out. When they arrived home, the kids rushed to the living room, leaving Jake to feel the house's stillness settle around him. He lingered in the doorway, listening to their giggles and the sounds of their unwavering joy. For a brief moment the worries faded. He watched as they played, acting out their imaginary battles, and felt a flicker of warmth in his heart. But it didn't last. The bills on the kitchen counter called out, each one a stark reminder of looming deadlines, mortgage payments, and unexpected car repairs. It struck him like a cold wave crashing over him. His finger hovered over his phone. The screen lit up with missed messages, friends reaching out, family tangling him in their chatter. He hesitated. No one would understand. Who was he to burden them with his worries? But what if opening up could change everything? He took a deep breath, holding the phone tightly in his palm. Maybe Mark was right, maybe leaning on others wasn't a weakness but a strength. Jake, are you okay? Lucas's voice broke through his thoughts, eyes wide with concern. You look like a superhero who just lost a fight. Jake chuckled, ruffling Lucas's hair softly, the moment grounding him. Just thinking about grown-up stuff, he replied lightly, brushing off the gravity of his hesitations. Are you going to be a superhero too? Emma inquired, her little hands clutching a blanket like a shield. Absolutely, Jake proclaimed, embracing the laughter and lightness of the moment. But I might need my sidekicks to help me save the day. Yay, super team all the way. Lucas cheered, and for a moment, the heavy fog of financial stress seemed to lift, revealing the love and connection that anchored them. That night, as he tucked them both into bed, he felt a renewed sense of purpose wash over him. Maybe tomorrow he could talk to Mark again, or reach out to someone else. Maybe he could share his struggles. As he turned off the light, Jake's thoughts flickered back to that nagging question: was he ready to confront his fears? His heart beat steadily, a drumroll to the uncertainty ahead. But in that moment, something shifted within him. If he could be honest with himself, then maybe he could be honest with everyone else too. Well, superheroes always face challenges, don't they? He murmured to himself, the idea growing stronger in his mind. What was the worst that could happen? With that thought whispering in his ear, Jake crept back down the hall to his room, heart racing with both fear and excitement. He wondered what change might come from simply letting others in. But as he lay in bed, sleep refusing to come, another thought crept into his mind: what if this vulnerability didn't just affect him, but also impacted his children? Would they thrive or falter in the face of his struggles? Would they still see him as their superhero? The morning sun crept through the curtains, casting soft stripes of light across the bedroom. Jake blinked awake, a mix of anticipation and dread washing over him as he remembered the day ahead. Today was the day he had promised himself he would take that step, reach out to Mark. He sat up, letting the sheets slide away, trying to shake off the hesitations that clung to him like a morning fog. Kids, rise and shine, he called, his voice slightly more upbeat than he felt. He needed to muster all the energy he could, wanting to shield them from his worries as long as possible. Lucas and Emma tumbled out of their room, hair tousled and faces bright. Their laughter spun through the air, lifting the heaviness from Jake's chest, if only for a moment. While they settled down for breakfast, Jake looked at their familiar faces. Lucas was busy building a fortress out of toast while Emma colored in a book, her brows knit in serious concentration. In that instant, he felt the weight of fatherhood sharpen into focus. He wasn't just battling his own emotions. He was also setting an example for them. What's the plan for today? Emma piped up, her blue eyes sparkling with innocence. Superhero training, Jake replied, a smile breaking through. Maybe today wasn't just about him and his fears. Maybe it was also about showing his kids that being open wasn't just a struggle. It could be a strength. As they enjoyed breakfast, Jake's phone buzzed on the table, lighting up with a message. His heart caught in his throat. It was Mark. Ready to grab that coffee? I can swing by your place in an hour. Just the prompt he needed. Hey kids, I need to run some errands today. Want to come? He asked, feigning lightness but really hoping their excitement would mask his internal trepidation. Yes, they shouted in unison, bouncing in their seats. After breakfast, Jake quickly tidied up the kitchen while Lucas and Emma dashed around, riling each other up for their adventure. The normalcy of their excitement filled him with a warm comfort as he considered what lay ahead. He would be vulnerable, he would share his worries, and he would do it for them. Once they were in the car, Jake took a deep breath, the engine humming softly beneath him. The drive felt longer than usual, each street sign, every light, a countdown to the coffee shop where he would meet Mark. He could already feel the knots tightening in his stomach. Dad? Lucas asked suddenly, breaking the silence. Do superheroes ever get scared? Jake stole a glance at his son, surprised by the question. Sure. Even superheroes get scared sometimes. It's how they deal with that fear that makes them stronger. Emma nodded, her thoughtful eyes shining with understanding. Like you with your super talk to Mark? Exactly, Jake replied, admiration for their innocence swelling within him. Their questions required answers he wasn't always prepared to give, but today felt different. Today he would lead. When they finally arrived at the coffee shop, Jake's palms sweaty against the steering wheel, he caught a glimpse of Mark through the window. Mark was lounging back, his laughter ringing like music even from outside. Okay, here we go, he muttered under his breath. He gathered the kids close. Stay close to me, all right? Remember, it's important to be open with our feelings. With that, they stepped inside, and Jake's heart raced in time with his footsteps. This was it. As they approached Mark, he hadn't yet realized how this meeting would change everything for him. Just as he was about to speak, Lucas piped up, "Hi, Uncle Mark. My dad's gonna be a superhero today." Jake's heart leaped. Would Mark see through the bravado, see the cracks in Jake's Superman facade? Would today open the door to a future he desperately wanted? Mark's laughter echoed as the kids bounded toward him, a warmth in his expression that calmed Jake's swirling anxieties. Hey, little superheroes. He chuckled, kneeling to ruffle their hair. Jake's heart thudded in his chest. There was his friend so comfortable in his skin, living life fully. What would it be like for Jake to feel that way? Unable to hold the thought, he took a deep breath, ready to dive into this moment of vulnerability, the moment to break free from the heaviness he had carried for too long. Mark, he started, clearing his throat as he edged closer. I've been meaning to talk. About everything. Mark's eyes locked onto Jake's with a knowing look that made him feel less alone. I'm all ears, he replied, his voice calm and inviting. The chatter of the coffee shop faded as Jake stood on the precipice of honesty. It felt like stepping off a cliff, heart racing, stomach dropping. But as he glanced at Lucas and Emma, who were absorbed in a game of superheroes versus villains using their imaginations, a sudden clarity washed over him. He shouldn't fear the fall. He should embrace the leap. My finances have really taken a toll on me, Mark. I thought I could manage it on my own. But I've been hard on the kids. I know how easy it is to feel trapped, Mark cut in, his demeanor encouraging. But you don't have to face everything alone. It's okay to lean on others. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Jake felt the walls around his heart begin to crack, light flooding in where darkness had lingered for so long. I didn't want to worry them, he admitted, his voice lowering as he glanced around to ensure no one else overheard. I thought if I hid it, I'd protect them. Mark shook his head, a quiet understanding in his eyes. Kids are wise. They can sense when something's off. Being honest shows them strength, Jake. It sets a powerful example. With every word, Jake felt a weight lifting, as if he were casting off old chains. You're right. I guess I've been too worried about being their hero instead of being their dad. Their conversation flowed easily now, Mark sharing stories of his own struggles, the ways he too had stumbled and learned to pick himself up again. With every confession, Jake felt lighter, and for the first time in a long while, hope flickered in his heart as they settled into easy banter. Emma and Lucas returned, faces flushed with excitement. Emma tugged at Jake's shirt, her big eyes sparkling. Dad, we made our superhero names. I'm Sparkle and Lucas is Captain Chocolate. Jake laughed, the sound genuine and full, warming the space around him. Great names, team. Every hero needs a good sidekick. Mark grinned and said, looks like you're surrounded by superheroes. Pretty good support system, huh? That simple affirmation washed over Jake. It felt like the universe was smiling down on them. He nodded, grinning at Emma and Lucas, his heart swelling with gratitude at their innocence and love. Maybe his struggles heightened their bond instead of tearing it apart. Maybe vulnerability was a team effort. As they gathered their things to leave, Mark clasped Jake's shoulder. Remember, I'm here for you anytime, buddy. Reach out, all you have to do is ask. His words ignited warmth, a promise of friendship that Jake hadn't realized he so desperately needed. Thanks, Mark. I really appreciate this, Jake replied, his voice brimming with sincerity. As they made their way out into the sunlight, the warmth of the day enveloped them, and a sense of new beginnings bubbled up inside Jake. Today wasn't just about him, it was about making choices to show his kids that love thrived in honesty. In the car, the laughter bubbled between Lucas and Emma as they recounted their superhero battle, imagining adventures that spun through their minds. Jake listened, a smile plastered on his face. You two are my favorite heroes, he said softly, pride swelling within him. And just like that, amidst all the chaos life threw their way, he realized the only thing that truly mattered was the connection he shared with his children. They were a team, battling storms together, hand in hand. The storms may still come, but he was ready to face them, heart exposed together. As they pulled into the driveway, Jake turned off the engine and took a deep breath. Tomorrow is a new day, he thought, already thinking of the ways he could begin bridging more connections, reaching out to other friends, sharing meals with neighbors, building that community around him. Hey Dad, Lucas piped up, his small voice slicing through Jake's thoughts. Can we play superheroes again later? Definitely, Jake replied, unable to hide the smile. Just wait till we have our cape day. The shadows slowly dissipated, leaving a glow of possibilities ahead. Yes, tomorrow carried challenges. But today was a breakthrough. As he stepped inside, he felt a rush of determination. This was the moment for change, for building a stronger family legacy. He was ready to embrace it, to make every day a little brighter and more connected, reminding Emma and Lucas of the strength that came from vulnerability and love. And for the first time, he felt his heart flutter, not with fear but with sheer joy. Jake squeezed his kids in a big embrace, his heart full. Thank you for being my heroes, he whispered, knowing that together, they could conquer anything life threw at them. Now it was time to build their happy life, step by step, moment by moment. They would carry each other through the storms, and with every moment shared, they'd write their story together. Take this moment, your own challenges might just be waiting for a superhero like you to unpack them. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show them how powerful vulnerability can be.